So, we've all experienced trauma. Small traumas, big traumas. It really doesn't matter whether it's a small trauma or a big trauma. The body remembers and produces a triggered response of fight, flight, or freeze. So a little trauma might be you're a second grader and your teacher humiliates you in front of the whole class. And somehow, for some people, that stays kind of embedded in the person for their whole lifetime. And then another little trauma happens and it kind of accumulates. And then, of course, there's big trauma. We're living in a world of earthquakes and hurricanes and shootings, and that's big trauma. Abuse, rape, these are big traumas. Disease, fighting cancer, these are all traumas. So how we define trauma in a way is when the person feels overwhelmed or overpowered by the moment, and they don't feel resourced in any way to meet the moment. That is a traumatic response. It means that what's happening to me is bigger than I am, and I'm powerless. So as we work with trauma, what we're trying to really do is resource the person to realize that if they are being triggered, it is not happening now. It feels like it's happening now, but it's remembered. Now, all the research has shown that cognitive work alone does not help heal trauma. Trauma lives literally in all the cells of the body. So, body modalities such as EMDR or somatic experiencing, modalities in which the body, where the trauma is still living and being remembered, is heard and addressed. So someone who is triggered by trauma can go from being very, very calm, let's say we would call that 0, up to 10 in just a second. They can just become agitated. They can become anxious in a second. Now, if we use the body as a tool of recognizing and acknowledging, oh, I'm having a trauma response. My heart's pounding. I can't catch my breath. I want to fight. I want to run. If we can intercept that and catch that, then there are ways that we can learn to calm the nervous system down. And some ways we do it is, first of all, by saying, well, from 0 to 10, where am I right now? Now, if I'm at 9 or 10, it's hard. It's hard to retrieve what I need to do, but just breathing, people say take deep breaths, but it's a kind of medicament. It doesn't really get you in any kind of a permanent way to be calm because the trigger is still existing for the person. So what we do is with some kind of imagery or visualization, we can take someone to a safe place. We can just take them into the body and listen. Well, my heart is pounding. Oh, your heart is pounding. Give it a voice. What does it want to say right now? Or we can just acknowledge, where right now are your resources? How do you feel not overpowered? Is there a part of you right now that feels solid, that feels supported, that feels held? And it can be just like my feet on the floor or my back against this chair. Or we can retrieve safe images and other kind of resourcing techniques. Now, hypnosis is an adjunct to that as well. Because as we get ourselves into a very, very calm state, it changes our brain waves. And when our brain waves are changed, every part of our body is changed, and we're able to calm down. So hypnosis gets us to a place where we move into something called sort of deep alpha. That's like on the way to going to sleep. And in that kind of hypnosis, and I believe all hypnosis is actually self-hypnosis, I really don't believe someone can force you to do something through hypnosis. You already have a predisposition to agreeing to do that thing. So hypnosis can be used also as a way of reframing events, remembering them differently, remembering them in a way in which the person feels resourced and not overwhelmed. And EMDR is a modality that is used, with earthquake survivors of any kind, to PTSD, people who've come back from war. And it's a way of rebalancing the left and right sides of the brain and the sort of animal response that happens. So we use all of these techniques to deal with small trauma and big trauma for each of the clients that I see.